New research has uncovered a strong link between moderate alcohol consumption over a lifetime and some cancers.
The Cancer Council has launched a new campaign urging us to drink less and live more.
A lot of us have a drink at the end of the day. Sometimes one drink leads to another. Before we know it, we're telling ourselves one more can't hurt. But it can cause cancer, which can develop in the breast, liver, bowel, mouth or throat. Stay at a low risk of alcohol-caused cancer and other diseases. Health experts recommend having no more than 2 standard drinks on any day.
And what is actually a standard drink? That's something that many of us don't really know. With us now are the Head of Prevention at the Cancer Council Victoria, Craig Sinclair, and cancer survivor Leslie Gillum. Good morning, Craig. Leslie,
morning.
Nice to have you on the program. Craig, can I start with you? What is a standard drink, and if 2's the maximum, are Australians having too much?
Yeah, what we find with a standard drink is generally about 8 standard drinks in a normal bottle of wine. A mid-strength beer a can is about 1 standard drink. A normal full-strength can of beer is about 1.4 standard drinks. And what we're finding is that moderate consumption, which is around 3 to 4 drinks, is what's really significantly contributing to the risk of some cancers, particularly mouth and throat cancers.
And why is that? What is the link?
Well, what we understand is that the alcohol does turn into a toxic chemical within the body, and that does lead to DNA changes and abnormal cell growth. So if people consuming that moderate levels, that 3 or 4 standard drinks on a regular basis, that is where we know that there's a really significant increased risk of some cancers.
Leslie, what happened to you, and what was your drink profile before you discovered your cancer?
Well, in 2009 I was diagnosed with breast cancer, which was quite a shock at the time. I underwent surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy. At the time I was quite a social drinker. I'd go out and have a few drinks, I'd drink at parties. Friday night in front of the footy I'd have 2 or 3 glasses of wine, that sort of thing. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So since that time my drinking behaviour has changed.
Were your doctor speaking to you then about a potential link between your cancer and your moderate drinking?
Not at the time, but since my knowledge of breast cancer and cancer in general has become more, I've gained more knowledge. There is plenty of research now showing that there is a link between certain cancers and alcohol. Yeah.
So if you knew now what you knew back then, what you know now, you'd wind back on the amount of drink you'd have?
I think I would. Yes, I certainly would probably reduce. I still, even now, have a drink. If I go out for dinner, I'll have a glass of wine. I guess the thing is that at the time I was having 2 to 3 drinks on a Friday night, but they weren't a standard drink, so I was probably more likely to be having 4 to 6 drinks.
I think that's an important point, isn't it, Craig? And we all know how the wine glass of our youth, for example, that our parents may have drunk out of, which is quite small, has now become this very, very large glass. Whack a whole lot of wine in there and you're up to two drinks in one go.
Well, that's right. And people often crack open a bottle of wine regularly on an evening when you come home with your partner. There's effectively 4 standard drinks in that, and we know if you do that on a regular basis, that is where there's that really significant increased risk of cancer.
This is going to be a very difficult conversation for Australians because unless you're actually a non-drinker, we probably can't think of a person who at the end of the working day, unless you work our hours, doesn't come home and have a glass or 2 of wine. Are we now getting to the point where we have to acknowledge as a community that a glass or 2 of wine every night will compromise your health?
Well, certainly in moderation. I mean, if moderation, we're talking about 1 or 2 standard drinks. If you're drinking within that, the risk is in fact very low. But as you say, if you're getting into that large glasses, 3 or 4 standard drinks, you are really putting yourself at increased risk. And what our data released also this week is showing that people don't actually understand not only the connection between cancer and alcohol, but they don't understand what is a standard drink, and therefore what is moderation. For one person is very different to what the evidence is showing.
It's a very loose threshold, isn't it? Would you also advocate more alcohol-free days, for instance?
Yes, and the more you can sort of reduce your overall consumption, certainly that will have a significant effect on reducing your overall risk of cancer.
Leslie, has it been difficult post-cancer returning to a drinking world, and people around you who are often always urging you to, oh, come on, just have one?
Look, my friends have been very understanding. I do still feel peer pressure at times. But in saying that, I I choose just not to do it. And they're very understanding, and if we go out for dinner, I quite often now drive, and then
You're the designated
I'm the
driver,
designated
and that
driver.
gets you off the hook.
That's right.
Yeah.
So therefore, that doesn't come into question.
So you consider alcohol a poison then, I guess?
I wouldn't say a poison, because I still will have one or two, but I certainly have reduced the consumption, and I go months now without having a drink. I'll only have a drink, and when I say drink, 1 or 2 glasses, if I'm at a party or if I go out for dinner, but I'm very conscious of what it is doing to my body, yeah.
Craig, if people want to find out more about the campaign and the links between moderate consumption and cancer, where do they go?
Well, just to look up Drink Less, Live More, and you'll find all the links to our data there.
Good to meet you both. Leslie, Craig, thanks so much.
Thank you very
And all
much.
the best. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Cheers.